all this stuff ain't real, no. I'm cruising forward beneath the Hollywood signs. I'm gonna leave my first.
Maybe I come around this side.
No, 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 no.
Okay, maybe I come around this side.
No, 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 no.
Okay, maybe I climb over top.
No, 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 no.
You need help building more fence?
Okay, come on over.
Welcome to WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. How you doing tonight? I'm feeling fine, I'll tell you. All kinds of great things in the news to talk about. Really looking forward to it. And above all else, I was happy to see that some internet lefties are starting to talk about what you can do. Ooh, would you look at that? It's in the air. It's in the air. And that makes me pleased. So we're going to share a clip by Brian Tyler Cohen in order to talk about one of the things that I'm looking for a jumping off point for, and to make me seem just slightly less ghoulish. I'm going to turn off auto white balance. How about that? Alrighty. Not ghoulish, just slightly less. Rex Trek, hello there. Yes, indeed. We're getting ready to rock on a story that it's probably best to let Cooler say it. The animated cartoon character.
Well, I sure hope somebody picks up that phone.
Do what?
Because I f***ing called it!
And that'll be Merrick Garland. Let's get to it. Oh, I do love those internet comedians. Let's just jump right in. Well, once again, your old pal Jake is the cat that caught the canary. Just pleased as punch. Now that, you know, the folks who have things like garages where they actually can keep their cars, or have to really decide, will I fly first class on my vacation to France, or should I watch the bank account and only fly business class? Those sorts of folks, and the media they watch, finally starting to wise up to the idea that maybe, just maybe, it would have been possible, to sort of get this investigation into the coup d'etat that Trump tried to pull going a little sooner than they did. And to that end, I give you the Washington Post, an article by Carol Leonnig. Oh yes. Let's have a quick gander here. FBI resisted opening probe into Trump's role in January 6th for more than a year. Let me just say that one more time for the kids in back. You remember how we were saying that most likely, not based on special information that we had here at Wicked, just based on knowing the standard American corruption, that the way they would try to cover this up would be the way they try to cover up all crimes by presidents. This includes George W. Bush, George H.W. Bush, Ronald Reagan, and Richard Nixon delay as long as they can properly investigating it. And with Nixon, I'm not even talking about Watergate. Delay the investigation as long as they can. In other words, don't mention it and let the American public assume everybody's doing their job. Let them get told that everything will be fine. And then, once we lose interest, once the next shiny object seems to have our attention, do a quick press conference saying, no charges, time to heal, etc., etc., etc. And it was really only the fact that the January 6th committee did the good work that they did that made it too embarrassing not to investigate the actual cause of this. By the way, it's also the investigations by state attorney generals. When state AGs okayed investigations into Trump for election interference, it put Merrick Garland in a rather embarrassing position, because what would have happened then? Well, pretty obvious what did happen. The January 6th committee did a pretty great job of laying out the whole scheme. When we find out new things in the trials about this, it's only going to be deeper levels of the same thing. But this was a coordinated effort. This was an attempted coup. This was not just a speech gone awry that Trump didn't then act properly around. This was an attempt to overthrow the government, working with Oath Keepers, working with Proud Boys, working with Mark Meadows, Giuliani, and working with state Republican parties. In other words, how this whole time I've been saying the Republican Party is a criminal organization, this is what I'm talking about. Well, somebody decided I guess we better ask a question or two, and this is what they came up with. Hours after he was sworn in as Attorney General, Merrick Garland and his deputies gathered in a wood-paneled conference room in the Justice Department for a private briefing on the investigation he had promised to make his highest priority. "Oh, I'm going to get after it," he said. Bringing to justice those responsible for the attack on the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. I want you to know I have not read this article. I've only heard about this article. I want to read it with you because I want to be able to make some predictions here and make sure that those predictions are genuine. Maybe I'll get them wrong, but I'm going to, without looking at that second paragraph, I'm going to assume that the thing Merrick Garland said was, we're going to go after the poorest people we can in that crowd. I know it's a lot of small business owners, but we're going to go after the poorest folks that we can, and we're not going to go after their betters. In the 2 months since the siege, federal agents had conducted 709 searches, charged 278 rioters, and identified 885 likely suspects, said Michael R. Sherwin, the then acting U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, ticking through a slide presentation. Garland and some of his deputies nodded approvingly of the stats, and the new Attorney General, Cripes. And the new Attorney General called the progress remarkable, according to people in the room. And I gotta highlight it to see it on my screen. Apologies. Sherwin's office, with the help of the FBI, was responsible for prosecuting all crimes stemming from the January 6th attack. He had made headlines the day after by refusing to rule out the possibility that President, now thank Christ former President, Donald Trump himself could be culpable. "We are looking at all actors, not only the people who went into the building," Sherwin said in response to a reporter's question about Trump. "If the evidence fits the elements of a crime, they're going to be charged. But according to a copy of the briefing document absent from Sherwin's 11-page presentation to Garland on March 11th, 2021, was any reference to Trump or his advisors, those who did not go into the Capitol riot, but orchestrated events that led to it. A Washington Post investigation found that more than a year would pass before prosecutors and FBI agents jointly embarked on a formal probe of actions directed from the White House to try to steal the election. Even then, the FBI stopped short of identifying the former president as a focus of that investigation. Jesus Christ. They are trying, and bear in mind, Biden didn't get rid of Christopher Wray. They are trying to let him go. They're trying to permit a coup. That is how corrupt things got in the U.S. When we're looking back on history and we want to know the low point, that's it right there. There was a coup, and we tried to forgive it because it was orchestrated by rich people. Even in the 40s, when this was tried, we had enough sense not to just hand out forgiveness left and right. We didn't punish enough, but Jesus God, how far we've fallen. A wariness about appearing partisan. Institutional caution and clashes. Institutional caution is what they're calling that. And clashes over how much evidence was sufficient to investigate the actions of Trump and those around him all contributed to the slow pace. Let's pause it there for a second. They're worried about appearing partisan. Why is it they're never worried about offending decent people? Haven't you noticed that? They're always afraid of appearing partisan when it comes to offending somebody who will say that Biden is a socialist no matter what Biden does. When they might offend somebody who casually uses the N-word when they're in their own home. That person, they're terrified of offending. They're not afraid to appear partisan if a leftist hiccups anywhere near the vicinity of a cop. Then they will swarm them, kick their ribs in, mace them, pry open their eyes, mace them directly again just to make sure they got them, tase them, choke them, cuff them, choke them again, bash their head against the car a few times, and throw them in jail, awaiting a trial a year later. No bond issued. That's actually quite partisan, I think. I think that's pretty partisan. Their concerns with politics in general is a problem. Because when it says wariness about appearing partisan, that is letting politics dictate law. We cannot have that. Let me take that back. Politicians can dictate the law, great, but not law enforcement. The law enforcement needs to be done separate from how people feel about who did the crime. I would think that would be obvious, but apparently they're going to try to find ways to say, oh, but you can't. Oh, but a guy who wears a Confederate flag hat when he drops off his grandkids to school and he smiles an evil smile at black kids that see it, that guy, we can't risk ever making him angry. The very next director of the FBI needs to be a Democrat. We've never had one. That needs to happen. We need actual law and order. In November 2022, after Trump announced, after Trump announced he was again running for president. So for the record, the case should have been in court by that point. No reason it shouldn't have been. Making him a potential 2024 rival to President Biden, Garland appointed special counsel Jack Smith to take over the investigation into Trump's attempt to overturn the 2020 election. In other words, into his coup. On June 8th, in a separate investigation that was also turned over to the special counsel, Smith secured a grand jury indictment against the former president for mishandling classified documents after leaving office. Remember, they let him hold on to those documents for like a year, for God's sake. Trump was charged with 31 counts of violating a part of the Espionage Act. We're going to talk about that later with Brian Tyler Cohen, as well as 6 counts arising from alleged efforts to mislead, in other words, lie to federal investigators. In other words, obstructing justice, yet again. The effort to investigate Trump over classified records has had its own obstacles, including FBI agents who resisted raiding the former president's home, but were not immediately fired when this was discovered. What the hell? But the discovery of top-secret documents in Trump's possession triggered an urgent national security investigation that laid out a well-defined legal path for prosecutors compared with the unprecedented task of building a case against Trump for trying to steal the election. Might be unprecedented, but it's not really confusing what needed to be done, is it? Whether a decision about Trump's culpability for January 6 could have come earlier is unclear. No, it isn't. It could have. The delays in examining that question began before Garland was even confirmed. Sherwin, senior Justice Department officials, and Paul, whatever, the top deputy to the FBI Director, Christopher A. Wray, quashed a plan by prosecutors in the U.S. Attorney's Office to directly investigate Trump associates for any links to the riot, deeming it premature, according to 5 individuals familiar with the decision. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 individuals. That's a lot of sources. And you got to wonder why 5 people were so concerned they were willing to speak out. And you sure have to wonder why Christopher Wray was allowed to stay in that job. It's insane. It's just insane. You know why, though, because Biden didn't want to seem like he was being mean to Trump. The guy tried a coup. We want strength in our leaders. We also want them to be righteous, but there's no point in being righteous if you're too weak to do anything about it. Then you're just a mouthy person of no consequence. Don't elect weak folks president. We did what we had to do in 2020. We'll do what we have to do again in 2024. We'll try to make a man out of Biden. But Jesus Christ. The strategy was embraced by Garland. Okay, instead they insisted on a methodical approach, focusing first on the rioters and going up the ladder. You do that, for the record, when you don't know who the boss was. We know who the boss was. Pretty insane. The strategy was embraced by Garland, Monaco, and Wray. That right there is a trifecta of corruption. We got to get rid of those 3 ASAP. They remained committed to it even as evidence emerged of an organized, weeks-long effort by Trump and his advisors before January 6 to pressure state leaders, justice officials, and Vice President Mike Pence to block the certification of Biden's victory. In the weeks before January 6, Trump supporters boasted publicly, they bragged about this, that they had submitted fake electors on his behalf. But the Justice, that right there, go question Trump. But they're cowards. But the Justice Department declined to investigate the matter in February 2021. The Post found the department did not actively probe the effort for nearly a year. And then the FBI did not open an investigation of the elector scheme until April 2022, about 15 months after the attack. One more paragraph before I have an aneurysm, because this appears to be too good not to read. The Justice Department's painstaking approach to investigating Trump can be traced to Garland's desire to turn the page from missteps, bruising attacks, and allegations of partisanship in the department's recent investigations of both Russia's interference in the 2016 presidential election and Hillary Clinton's use of a private email server. Why on earth is Garland so dumb that he cannot see the obvious there? One more. Maybe this will tell us. Inside Justice, however, Some lawyers have complained that the Attorney General's determination to steer clear of any claims of political motive has chilled efforts to investigate the former president. You couldn't use the T word, said one former justice official briefed on prosecutors' discussions. Oh, one more. It's too good. This account is based on internal documents, court files, congressional records, handwritten contemporaneous notes, and interviews with more than 24 current and former prosecutors, investigators, and others with knowledge of the probe. Most of the people interviewed for this story spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss internal decision-making related to the investigation. I'll tell you, it was a rhetorical question. Garland is not dumb. I have a lot of negative things to say about him, but he's not dumb. Unfortunately, dumb would have been the only thing that meant he wasn't corrupt. So he's corrupt. Why did he blame the bruising investigations into Russia and Hillary Clinton? Because he was looking for an excuse not to do his job. That's it. That's all there is. Further, if he was dumb, then he would have fallen for the idea that there was something wrong with the Russia investigation. There was nothing wrong with it. It was obvious that Trump was and did work with the Russians. The question was, did he do so more directly behind the scenes than he did on camera? I don't know, but he did on camera. He literally asked them to hack emails of a political rival, and they did. They responded. That right there, done. On camera. Get him into a court. Make him say, I was joking. It was a joke. Okay, you let a judge decide that. And if they're Trump appointed, they're corrupt, and they'll say, yeah, it was clearly he was just joking. It's just a coincidence that it happened immediately after that. He's not dumb. He's corrupt. And he wanted a excuse not to go after somebody powerful, somebody rich, not to go after his class, the aristocracy, the people who think they are our betters. If you want to let them know they are not, vote in primaries. They are coming up. Go as left as you can. In the general, if you want to keep a democracy, you're going to have to vote blue no matter who. That's just how it's got to be. The primaries are our chance to get blue politicians with strength, so that the principles the Democratic Party says it's all about are not just words, but they actually turn into actions. Every stage of this, from now till 2024, November, every stage of it gets easier based on how much work we did in the days before. We get a strong showing in the primaries of genuine leftists. The general's going to be a lot easier, because we're going to have people who actually make firm cases against right-wing insanity. We're going to get people who can't be tagged as being corrupted by the same forces that the right wing are. Taking bribes from the NRA, taking bribes from big oil and their coal companies, and their whatever else investments they have. And if we're successful in the primaries and we're successful in the general, it's going to be real easy, real easy to get the legislation we want done. We were real close in 2020. This country was improved significantly with the milquetoast, watered down compromising with the devil work that was done by Biden and a bunch of centrists with a small progressive voice chiming in. If we have a big progressive voice, it's going to be a hell of a lot better. Links in the description for when primaries are. Participate in them. Get your friends to go too. Let's see what the Wicked community has to say. Dawned on me. Hello. Late as always, good to see you. Well, it's good to see you too. Mars Falcon. I almost got in a fist fight yesterday when my idiot brother interrupted my complaining about the two-tier justice system to cry, "You're talking about Trump." I said, or Pence or Biden, any rich dude. Hell yes. Hell yes. 100% true. And your brother is reachable. Especially if you're using tactics like that. He's absolutely reachable. Marianne Holt with the very kind $4.99. Thank you. She says, keep it up. I love it. Oh, and you've correctly guessed my body shape with the pear there. Below the desk, it's a mess. Very much appreciated. Ooh. The anti-corporatists. Oh, I came up with a new slogan/chant. More for the people. What y'all think? I like it. Yeah, Wicked Foxy Dragon with also, she likes it as well. I think that's a good one. Oh, anti-corporatist. I thought we had decided at a quarter past. No, I'm just irresponsible. It's supposed to be at 9. But it's a 2 for Tuesday. We're going to do another stream shortly after this one. Dino, good to see you. Oh, mercy me. What on earth? Oh, yes. So look. Bad news is. Oh, this may as well be the intro. Let's do it. The bad news is that Merrick Garland couldn't handle a shot of raspberry schnapps, much less an investigation into a former president. Good news is Jack Smith is doing the grown-up work now. And Trump is the easiest person to investigate ever of all time. Not only does he constantly confess to the crimes that he must be investigated for, but he has a habit of doing it on TV, on what is now the second most watched news network on television. Side note, we should call around to military bases. If you have anybody in the military, call around to military bases. There's really not that many of them. And I think we got Selfridge Air Base near me. Give them a call. And make sure that they're following the policy that they had of only playing the most popular, the most watched news agency in their bases. They were doing that as an excuse to have Fox playing, basically insanity propaganda playing. Well, right now, that title goes to MSNBC. So make sure your local military base is following their own rules. And if nothing else, it'll be to make somebody with a buzz cut squirm. But I digress. Trump confessed again. Yeah, I'm sure you all have seen this interview he did on Fox. But it's worth repeating. And Brian Tyler Cohen, God bless him, has started including links to actually get things done. We're including that same link in our channel, and we're watching Brian Tyler Cohen's breakdown of this because he does a good one.
don't want to dwell on it, but according to the indictment, you were here at Bedminster on July 21st, 2021, after you're no longer president, and you were recorded saying that you had a document detailing a plan of attack on another country that was prepared by the U.S. military for you when you were president, the Iran attack plan. You remember that?
Ready?
You were recorded.
It wasn't a document.
Okay.
I had lots of paper. I had copies of newspaper articles. I had copies of magazines.
I know. This
had
is
copies of
specifically a
everything.
quote. You're quoted
And
on the
I know-
recording saying the document was secret, adding that you could have declassified it while you were president, but, quote, now I can't. You know this is still secret, highly confidential. And the indictment cites the recording and the testimony from people in the room saying you showed it to people there that day. So you say on this, on tape,
It says just the opposite.
that you can't
And let me just
declassify it,
tell
so
you,
why have it? is
When
what
I
the question is.
said that I couldn't declassify it now, that's because I wasn't president. I never made any bones about that.
First of all, this guy just cannot. Once you realize that Trump really doesn't have any original ideas, it becomes so easy to just understand everything that's happening. What he's thinking is, I made a lot of bones about that. He says the opposite of what is true constantly. I never made any bones about that. For the record, for all of those folks who and God help me, there's a lot of them. But if you have an insane person in your life who believes that Trump is secretly the president, what did he just say? I wasn't the president. Neat. Let's put that particular brand of crazy to bed. Trump himself, their God King, just said he wasn't the president after his failed coup. Good to know. Really, really drive that home.
When I'm not president, I can't declassify.
And that's what you said.
One more time for the kids in the back. When I'm not president. Neat.
You
I
didn't
said
declassify it.
that. I said no. I said I couldn't.
could have
but that wasn't a
declassified it.
document, Brett. There was no document. That was a massive amount of papers and everything else talking about Iran and other things. And it may have been held up or may not, but that was not a document. I didn't have a document per se. There was nothing to declassify. These were newspaper stories, magazine stories, and articles.
I'm just saying what the indictment says.
Well,
the
these
recording
people-
and the
look,
people in the room who
These
testified.
people are very dishonest people. They're thugs. They're thugs. If you look at what they've done to other people, what they've done to, and overturned in the U.S. Supreme Court, these are thugs.
It's amazing. So, of course, it's truly this childish. It's the rubber glue sentiment. Everything he's saying about his political rivals is true of him. They're thugs. The GOP are thugs. If you look at what they've done to people and what they've overturned in the courts, it's a nightmare. It's amazing.
The
These are
suggestion
dishonest
was that
people.
you wanted this as evidence
These are dishonest people. Ooh.
that the military, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Milley, had preemptively sent you plans for a possible attack on Iran and that you didn't order that to happen. That's the
I
suggestion.
never ordered it to happen, no.
But that's
No.
why you wanted the document.
I don't think I've ever seen a document from Milley. Milley, frankly, was incompetent. The last one I'd want to attack with as my leader would be Milley.
Side note, there's a beautiful part in that interview where I feel not right about sharing anything from Fox. We might. It's too juicy. But anyway, where Brett Baer asks Trump, "You said you were going to hire the best people," and he just rattles off all the things Trump insulted his former staff with, because all of them are saying this guy really shouldn't be president. And Trump really has no answer. All he says in response is like, well, I also hired a bunch of good folks. Amazing, though, that you don't really see a lot of those folks. You don't really see a lot of people who want to have respectable jobs in the future saying that Trump didn't do anything wrong. Because, you know, to have a respectable job in the future, you have to be able to be taken seriously.
They
We're
did ask
talking.
for it.
No, and
They said,
I gave
"Can you
them
give the
some.
I'm ready for
documents
Brian.
we
Come
were
on.
talking.
And then they said they went to DOJ to subpoena you to get them
Which
back.
they've never done before.
Right. And
in
but
all
why not
fairness,
just hand them over then?
because
All right, he's about to confess right there. Before he does, though. Oh, just before he does. One more time.
You to get them
which
back.
they've never done before.
I can't believe that they're pointing guns at me, the SWAT team, just because I have a gun to the head of my maid and I'm trying to stay out of prison. They've never done this before. They've never pointed guns at a former president when he took a hostage. That's never happened before. Yeah, we haven't had a former president that was this blatantly criminal before, is the issue.
Right.
And in
But
all
why not
fairness,
just hand them over then?
because I had boxes. I want to go through the boxes and get all my
There you
personal
go.
things out. I don't want to hand that over to Nara yet. And I was very busy, as you've sort of seen.
Yeah, but
I've been
according to
And we're going to get Brian Tyler Cohen in a moment. I do want to watch a couple minutes of what he has to say because it's real good. He just said, I didn't give them back when asked because I didn't want to. There it is. That's it. Done. I mean, look, there's other things to prove in this. You have to prove what were these documents? Did the government truly have a right to them? So on, so forth. Not terribly hard to prove. Here were the files listed. Here are their titles and yada yada. Here's the marks that say they are what they are. Here's who owns them. Only thing Trump really could have tried for, which I'm sure his lawyers were begging to leave open as an avenue, was that he didn't know he had them, that he was just foolish, that he was just only irresponsible with them, as opposed to being irresponsible and willfully defying a legal order, a command from the U.S. government to return U.S. government property. So the question is, was it U.S. government property? Did they ask Trump for it back? Did he give it back? In court, they're going to spend a hell of a lot of time establishing, was it U.S. Well, they're going to spend 5 minutes, but for every document, establishing, was this U.S. government property? Yes, 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 yes. In other words, they were the ones that owned it, not Trump. And then they're going to probably play this interview when it comes to, did Trump willfully retain them? Did he intentionally retain them? Yes. Yes, he did. There he is saying it. I mean, there is one thing I continually say I will forever be grateful, God help me, to Donald Trump for, which is lampshading how obscene our system of justice is in the United States. I noticed that the Republican talking point has been two-tiered system of justice. Oh, a two-tiered system of justice. But remember, they always build their talking points around the critiques they know they're going to be getting, so that it all just seems like, it's just politics. This is something that has been exposed for all to see, and they can tell. One thing these sharks are good at is smelling the blood in the water. They can tell that the American people are starting to wonder, what the hell do you have to do to get arrested once you're a rich, powerful guy? Apparently a hell of a lot. And so their newest talking point is two-tiered, two-tiered. Meh. I believe "meh" was actually in a GOP email. Maybe not. I'll have to look back at it. But nonetheless, it's delightful. All right, Brian, hit us with the breakdown.
The indictment, you then tell this aide to move to other locations after telling your lawyers to say you'd fully complied with the subpoena when you hadn't.
But before I send
Obstructing
boxes over, I have to
justice.
take all of my things out. These boxes were interspersed with all sorts of things. Golf shirts, clothing, pants, shoes. There were many things. I would say
Iran war
much more, not that I know of, but everything was declassified. And Biden didn't have the right to do that because he wasn't president. Nor did Mike Pence, by the way, have the right
Not that I know of. Not that I know of. So good.
to do that because he wasn't president.
And there it is. Trump confesses that he didn't want to hand over boxes of classified documents that he'd unlawfully retained because he was, quote, very busy. And then when confronted on the fact that he told his aide, who was Walt Nauta, to move his boxes to a different location while telling his attorney that he'd fully complied with the subpoena, which, to be clear, is a crime, Trump says that he needed to go through the boxes. In other words, he didn't deny committing the crimes at all and instead tried to justify them. And look, I'm not here to give any free legal advice to Donald Trump, but someone on his payroll might have considered reminding him that he has the right to stay silent. And just to be perfectly clear, these are the charges that Trump just effectively confessed to on air. Conspiracy to obstruct justice, wherein Trump and Walt Nauta conspired to keep these documents from the grand jury. Withholding a document or record, wherein Trump and Nauta misled one of their attorneys by moving boxes of classified documents so that attorney couldn't introduce them to the grand jury. Corruptly concealing a document or record, wherein Trump and Nauta hid boxes of classified documents from the attorney. Concealing a document in a federal investigation, wherein Trump and Nauta hid Trump's continued possession of those documents at Mar-a-Lago from the FBI, causing a false certificate to be submitted. Scheme to conceal, wherein Trump and Nauta hid Trump's continued possession of those materials from the FBI and grand jury. False statements and representations, wherein Trump caused one of his attorneys to make an inaccurate statement to the FBI and grand jury regarding the results of the Mar-a-Lago search. And another false statements charge, wherein Nauta gave false answers during a voluntary interview with the FBI. But hey, I guess since Trump needed to go through them, then that should definitely totally be acceptable as far as excuses go, right? And not to humor Trump's absurd defenses here, but in terms of needing time to go through these documents, he had over a year. How much time do you need to separate the thing that says top secret or highly classified from his golf shirt? And why not do it when the National Archives first requested them? Or why not do it when a subpoena was issued? Or why not do it instead of bringing in a lawyer to draft a false attestation? Or why not do it instead of assembling a crew of people to do a dress rehearsal for the execution of the search warrant by the FBI? It seems like Trump had plenty of time to think about ways to defy the law, and yet no time to actually follow it.
No notes for Mr. Brian Tyler Cohen. I mean, we've all heard this stuff. We know what happened now. Odds are, if you're watching this show, you know that Trump did all those things. He obstructed justice yet again, and again, and again, and again, and again. He has no respect for the law. He has no respect for the rules you and I have to live by. He thinks he is above them, and he thinks further that he should get to make the rules for you. He wants to be a king in the United States of America. Before even the Magna Carta, he wants to be an old school king. He wants to be a tyrant. We don't cotton to that round these parts. At least that's what I've been told. Brian Tyler Cohen did something lovely that I want to encourage y'all to do. There's a link in the description of this here video. It is to a petition asking Judge Aileen Cannon to recuse herself. She won't. But why should she? She should because she has demonstrated a bias in this very case regarding Donald Trump. I saw the Midas Touch Network saying, "Oh, you gotta respect that she's doing things right." To be clear, the thing I'm concerned about, the thing that I'm quite sure she's going to do, is wait till the end of this thing and then go as easy on Trump as she can possibly get away with, possibly even throwing him bones to delay it whenever she can. not giving Jack Smith an excuse to toss her off the case, and the longer she's on it, the harder it's going to be. So she's getting dug in like a tick, and that it doesn't bode well. However, we should make it known that we, the people, don't want her there. In every form we can. Telling your representatives? Sure, but there's not much your representatives can do about it. So Brian Tyler Cohen, good egg that he is, included a link in his video, which I've now put in this one. It is to a petition you can sign simply to say Aileen Cannon ought to remove herself from this case. We're going to win through attrition. That's really the only path to take. And at every possible opportunity, we should make it clear how we feel about corruption. And the most important thing is that we should make sure as many people in power understand that we now see the corruption. So I encourage you to sign that petition and take heart, because even Aileen Cannon is going to have a hell of a time trying to turn this into anything where she can look anyone in the eyes and say that Trump is not guilty. Because I'll tell you, the man's guilty as sin, or so it would appear according to his own words. You'll love to see it. Wicked Foxy Dragon, I would like to point out right now, so he admits to violating PRA, specifically Presidential Records Act, specifically says presidents need to file official docs separate from personal things. Yes. Yes. Right on. The anti-corporatist, I think he actually confessed to more crimes. LMAO. Yeah. Oh, God. Oh, did I call him Brian Tyler Cullen? I got mush mouth. Dawned on me. I don't know. Jack Smith isn't unprepared. No, it's true. Jack Smith is a pretty formidable guy. I'll tell you, I didn't like the disrespect he paid to reporters when they were asking him questions. Just doing that thing where he was stone-faced and walking ahead. That is a performance that I see a lot of folks in the Department of Justice. Let me rephrase that. In law enforcement, in general, in the United States. That is a thing I see them do. And it's this sort of, I'm tough with the press, so I must be tough with everybody act. But it's not. It's just a sign that they're not willing to answer questions asked by those amongst us who the press really are, who are simply paid to know about these things and ask questions. In other words, it's not a good sign when they don't want to answer questions from the press, or they don't even want to pay them the courtesy of saying, like, I'm not going to talk right now, but I'll do a press conference when I'm ready. I hope you'll be there. Just a little courtesy. That would tell me that he wasn't putting on a show. And it's that show of faux strength that makes me nervous. Remember Merrick Garland, trying to get all tough with the press, saying, "And I said, anybody is not above the law." He was doing that as well, like acting like he was annoyed by the question. I'll hint at yes without saying yes. And how dare you question me, you peon, you peasant. Questioning your betters. Ugh. Not good, and we should not put up with it. Oh, did I not? Let's see. I think that is just him. I have never seen the guy have any other facial expression. Ha! Yeah. I mean, he full-on stonewalled him. He didn't say anything. He acted like the guy wasn't even there. Yeah. Oh, the short form link. I'm sorry. Did I not put the link in the description? Thank you very much, Wicked Foxy. Let me see that. Let me just check this here. Yeah, under Trump confesses on television again, the Wicked link is for @advocacy, and it is in the description, if that's the one you're talking about. But it's easier that way. Well, hey, how about that? Let's pin this puppy. Thank you so much, Wicked Foxy Dragon. You're the best, man. Aileen Loose Cannon doesn't give an F about petitions. No, she doesn't. But we do want people in power to see that we see them. We want them to know exactly how we feel about this. And I think most importantly, when our will is being defied, it should be noted. We don't want folks who are in power and barely follow this stuff to think that they're getting away with this stuff. Especially since, for example, if you can imagine an election in a year where it doesn't go the way corporate Dems think it's going to go, either because Republicans win or because progressives beat them in the primaries. We want them to have a lot of breadcrumbs present as to why that is, and letting them see our dissatisfaction with the way things are going. Like, for example, a big petition getting ignored. We know it's going to get ignored. Things like that. It's going to have a powerful effect. Why did I turn on closed captioning? Believe it or not, I was once paid to do tech things for a company. Well, we talked about this before. It's happened now multiple times. The GOP is getting in real time something called comeuppance, and it's a hoot. Let's have a look. Here is a little item played on MSNBC recently, and it's about the Bible getting banned in schools. Who got it banned? Christian extremists. I have said from the jump that it is in the interest of the highly religious not to push their agenda onto secular folks. It's certainly in their interest not to mix up religion and government. Why is that? Because everybody thinks it's going to be their religion, and almost nobody is right about that. A lot of different sects of Christianity, and you think you get along until you can't drink coffee anymore because it's outlawed. You think you get along until every school is required to have a supply of snakes because the governor in your state is of a particular sect of Baptist that says they need to do a faith test with snakes near them. Similarly, when bigots try to ban books to cover up crimes done by their ancestors in history, and to cover up the crimes they are attempting to get away with now in the form of systematic racism, at the very least crimes against decency. When that happens, it's very clear that it's going to backfire, because you cannot do what these people actually want to do phrased as such. They have to phrase it in a way that makes it seem like they're doing something else. So they're not trying to erase the existence of gay people. They say they are trying to remove sexuality from books available to children. Well, that's come back to bite him. Here's Mehdi Hassan talking about how one of the recent book bans just got the Bible banned.
Meme I've been thinking about a lot lately. A viral tweet that reads, and I quote, "I never thought leopards would eat my face," sobs woman who voted for the leopards eating people's faces party. It's an...
Wait, did that start as a tweet? Oh, I suppose so. Well, I'm more familiar with the subreddit, but interesting. Side note, maybe stay off Reddit for a while we pressure them to do some kind of socialist tech things that they were doing that they said they're going to stop doing to the detriment of us all. Moving on.
Adage that has been proven relevant, time and again, when the American right is forced to reckon with the consequences of its own actions. Most recently in Utah, where Republicans passed a law targeting books in school libraries that contain, quote, pornographic or indecent content. And would you know it, that very law has now been used to restrict access to, wait for it, the Bible.
With the holy book in one hand and signs in the other, frustrated parents calling out the recent decision by Davis School District that voted to remove the King James Version of the Bible from elementary and middle school libraries.
Period. Thank you very much.
The move coming after a complaint was filed with the district in December, when the district received an anonymous grievance that said the school district was ignoring, quote, one of the most sex-ridden books around, the Bible, adding that this edition of the Bible, quote, has no serious values for minors because it's pornographic by our new definition. Get this porn out of our schools.
Pausing it right there. Look at what this person's doing. On this stream, I've encouraged folks to do the same. If you have a book ban anywhere near you, do the same. It's called malicious compliance. Force the district into malicious compliance. These nightmare rules have the opportunity to bite the people who wrote them squarely, right square, in the behind. And it should. You know what? If they get rid of the book ban, they can put the Bible back. For the record, I'm all for teaching the Bible in schools. From a dyed-in-the-wool atheist, I'm for it. Nothing wrong with it. I have a copy of the Quran somewhere in here. I moved recently. Somewhere in here. I enjoy religious texts. In fact, because I don't care to read all that much, but I love listening to audiobooks, David Suchet, Poirot from the BBC dramas, had a religious awakening later in life, and you can listen for free to David Suchet reading the Bible on the internet. I've given it 2 full listen-throughs now, because it's good to know, it's good to have a little culture. And being cultured isn't just about being submerged in your own culture. It's about understanding others. I'm for teaching the Bible. But I think if Jesus is as he is written in the Bible, my understanding is Jesus would be cackling and all for these Bible bans in the schools, because what a great way to use the Bible to stand up for justice. So it doesn't mean the Bible will be gone forever. It'll be back as soon as decency returns. And really, when you think about it, the Bible should only should be kept in places that are decent.
So maybe it's time to update that meme.
Maybe not. There's a lot of hotel rooms that...
I never thought they would ban my favorite book, sobs woman who voted for the book banning party.
Ba-dum-bum.
State Representative Carol Spackman Moss is a Democratic member of the Utah State House. Before running for office, she was a high school teacher for more than 30 years, and she joins me now. Representative Moss, thanks so much for coming on the show. What is your reaction to the King James Bible being taken out of some Utah school libraries? Do you support that move on the basis of, I don't know, consistency? If Republicans are going to ban books with vulgarity or sex in them, then that includes the Bible.
Yes, it was consistent. And by the way, I was an English teacher. I taught literature and writing, and I sometimes taught a unit called the Bible as literature. But the person who filed this challenge just put it out there to see if they would follow the same process and see what they're doing to other books. And boy, did the lawmakers, the Republicans, take the bait. And all this outrage they expressed in meetings. And not just outrage, but actual threats in the meeting last week, that they could charge them with, if they don't just immediately take a book out that's been challenged as pornographic, they could charge them with felonies. But
Notice what she said. That group of dingbats there took the bait. This reaction is what we wanted. A lot of times these folks need to see consequences to understand what is wrong with something. We have 74 million Americans right now who are the clasp your hands over your ears and saying na 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 when these things are explained to them calmly and politely. They don't respond to that. They need to see consequences. Now, it shouldn't be necessary to tell these folks, hey, there's something wrong with this law because it could hurt you. It shouldn't be necessary, but it is. Because that is the culture they are currently in. It's a selfish one. It is not a principled one. So, show them. Again, I encourage you. Contact your school board. If you're near one that has a book banning policy, and use the very draconian measures that has been put in place to get the Bible booted from that school district.
Bible, they said things like this is the first step toward atheism and hedonism. But all they did was the district followed their procedure of let parents and teacher review committees make a decision. And they put it in high schools only. That was it.
So do you think Utah Republicans are simply going to end up changing their own rules here to protect religious texts that they approve of? There's some talk that the Book of Mormon could be challenged next, which would be hugely controversial in Utah.
Yes, it would. It would. But what they were the person who challenged it, I assume they were pointing out is the bill is flawed because you should take everything in context at its literary value. And they're not doing that with some books. They're just saying these lines are what they call the bright line. They're pornographic. They should be taken out. No, all books that are challenged should be looked at as a whole, not by individual words or passages. And Mehdi, I just want to say they haven't discovered Shakespeare yet.
God help us all. So you spent decades as an English teacher, as you say. You mentioned Shakespeare. Yes. Big picture. What do you make of this right-wing campaign of book bannings in your state and across the country? What impact, in your view, is it having on our public schools, on the American education system?
It's a huge impact. Inordinate amount of time. In the district I taught in with 62,000 students, there have been 94 books challenged by 6 people. And this is typical. Wow. And these lists do not just come out. Many I don't think people have even read. They come from lists, groups like
Moms for Liberty, a right-wing extremist organization. She didn't address the question that Mehdi asked because I think it's an uncomfortable answer. Mehdi Hassan asked, will this make all these extremist lawmakers suddenly pull these laws off the books? No, is the answer. It won't suddenly do that. This will have to happen again and again and again. It will have to be seen as an inevitable consequence of these kinds of bans. We need to make it a hobby of ours. We talk about she's talking about Moms for Liberty there. Yeah, that's a group that's got several thousand members. I don't know, 10,000, whatever. But there's really only 11 people. Think about this: 11 people calling and making complaints to the majority of these districts. Think about that. This crowd right here, we could do this. I'm going to search for a district. Tell you what, I'll search for a district. And in an upcoming stream, we'll call together. Why not? They are AstroTurf through and through. They generate hysteria, and when they've got sufficient chaos, they use that as cover to do the most despicable things, the most horrendous right-wing fantasies get carried out during the chaos that they create. So, in answer to Medi's question, on her behalf, I believe the answer is no. It will not have an overnight, sudden impact. But it will have an impact if this is simply what happens every time one of these book bans goes into effect. If it is simply viewed as these book bans are bad because it will hurt me. Will it cause some of them to think about the greater principles? Maybe. Maybe it will. But more importantly, it will get them to stop doing this insanity.
Moms for Liberty in Utah, Utah Parents United. It's a small but very organized group. They're the same books that have been in the canon.
I can't help but point out, I just can't help myself. What did she say? A small but very organized group.
Very organized group.
Well, shoot, who does that sound like? We don't create the chaos. But if these punks are going to create chaos like they have, well, gosh darned, there ought to be an A-team. A small but very organized group fighting the good fight. Like the Romans of old, let's learn some lessons from the people we are in conflict with. And those tactics that we see work, let's use them. But use them for our purposes, which happens to be, little things like religious liberty, little things like the right to vote, American ideals, and also, what America says it believes in, not what it does. And also, decency, like actual decency. Good lesson to learn.
The same books that have been in the canon for years. The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison, beloved. See, they've gone from just looking for books that have to do with LGBTQ kids and BIPOC kids. That's the primary list. Now they're moving into established literary works. And that's where I really say we have to draw the line.
I'm not trying to rag on this lady. She's great. I like her. I would buy her I'll stereotype her here. I am assuming a cup of jasmine tea if I ever saw her at a smoky bar. But isn't it funny that we have our chosen favored hierarchy, even in kindness, even on the kind side? Oh, well, we could let him get away with going after homosexuals, but we can't let him go after black folks. Oh, but we just can't. Oh, they're coming after The Polish? Oh, that we absolutely can't have. No. From now on. And she's right. We can't let them go after the black folks. That's not the point. The point is, from now on, as principled thinkers, we need to have this reaction always, immediately, when they're going after anybody. Anybody. Because you know what they're going after in all these cases? Americans. And if they could do it around the world, and they're going to try to do it around the world. Okay, I just realized they are doing it around the world. Uganda comes to mind. They will. So the left everywhere needs to be united. That's what they fear above everything else. The only one they fear is you and your millions and millions of friends. Be united. But okay, let's listen.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars are being spent on this, time, hours and hours, instead of working on kids learning to read. See, I have many of those books. I've read them. Kids that need to make up the losses during COVID. There's so many things we need to do. And what's happening, Mehdi, is that teachers are leaving, librarians are quitting. And that's the tragedy. It's part of what I see as an overall attempt to destroy public education. Voucher bills, homeschooling, many schools, more school choice. This is one aspect, and it's very dangerous. These are our most important freedoms, the freedom to read, the freedom to speak, academic freedom, and I'm very concerned about it. And I think there will be lawsuits to follow.
And rightly so. There will be lawsuits. We'll win some, we'll lose some. And even though a lot of lefties don't like saying this, the truth is the arc of history will bend towards us. You just have to understand it doesn't bend towards us naturally. It will bend towards us because we're not going to stop fighting. And if you don't want to fight forever, if you don't want to fight for a long time, then fight hard. We're going to take some time, make some calls to districts in upcoming streams. But right now, if you happen to know of a district in your area, call them, try to get the Bible banned. And if you're a fan of the Bible, don't worry. It'll be back. Why? Because the people that are banning the Bible with these ridiculous rules don't really want the Bible banned. They're not going to fight to keep it out of schools. Crazy as it may seem, you don't have to be a psychopath on the right to like the Bible. But it will show these folks on the right that there is a consequence to the kind of insanity that they are promoting. That it's no way to run a country. And hopefully, eventually, when we wrestle, after we've wrestled the country back from them, eventually they will learn that, hey, when the lefties are in charge, life is better for everybody, including the folks who were fighting them. Oh, let's see what y'all have to say. Rex Trek. Moms for Liberty, a.k.a. Karen, suffering from a severe case of Gladys Kravitzitas. Chaos for the weak-minded. Yeah. Wireless Mike at Mars Falcon. I truly hope it won't come down to Normandy again. Well, that's interesting. Dawned on me. If you want to learn about the Bible, then there's millions upon millions of churches in this country, and they all get tax-free status. Yes, indeed, they do. Oh my God, says Wicked Foxy Dragon. I was just cleaning off the table and was about 5 feet away and thought Jake said he loves religious sex. I mean, look, I'm not adverse to it. I've certainly called to Jesus once or twice. I'm falling asleep. Sorry. Oh no, man. Stay on the road if that's where you are, for God's sake. But have a good one. Otherwise, my friend. Rex Trek. I got statistically 20 years left on this rock. Well, hopefully it's a fun 20 years, and I'll tell you, hopefully we make, I don't know, robot bodies by then. Pop our brains in there, have big buzzsaw hands. Dawned on me, I think we need to wake up to the fact that major damage is being done to the children's learning. Yes, it is. The good news is, and it's not a replacement, certainly, but the good news is, the internet is going to help quite a bit. There's some of this will be made up for with curious minds. But you're right. Major damage is being done, and we got to stop it. Rextrek, you didn't get the Gladys Kravitz reference. I didn't. Although, let me expand my knowledge a little bit. Oh! Yes, from the neighbor from what's the nose show, the wrinkly show, that goddamn Bewitched. Yes, you're right. That's my thank you, Dino. Yes, Bewitched. Oh my word. By the way, I'm not sure if it's actually supposed to be Dino or Dino. I like Dino though because of the Rat Pack. Big fan. And Dean Martin was, he was the coolest. Come on. All right, y'all. It's a 2 for Tuesday. That means we will be back. We're going to have a stream at 11 tonight. I think I said I was going to start trying to do them at 6, and then I forgot that that's what I was going to start doing. But yeah, we're going to have another stream at 11. I hope I see you there. No worries if not. If you haven't hit the like button, please do. It is extremely helpful. I do really want to thank one more time Marianne Holt for the very kind super chat. That's appreciated, and I will keep it up. In the meantime, this has been WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. My name's Jake.